What's up, everybody? John Hoover from the Franchise Drive. Wanted to take a little time to talk about a column I wrote today. A very important column. You can find it at thefranchiseok.com. It's about a guy I knew personally. Difficult story to write. Mike Gaddis, one of the legends at the University of Oklahoma, a running back giant at a place that a lot of people consider running back university. Mike Gaddis died on Monday at the age of 50. Very sad story. He had battled kidney ailments. He had a kidney transplant in 2005. So a very difficult time for anybody who knew Mike, his teammates, his coaches, and certainly his family. We certainly wish them the best at this difficult time. He was 50 years old. Very kind of difficult to grasp. But this is. I talked to Barry Switzer today, and it seems anymore. It's tough. It seems that anymore. I've been doing the OU football beat since 2004, and ever since then, I've called Barry Switzer fairly frequently. But it seems like anymore I'm calling him more and more and more to talk about his former players who have passed away. Coach Switzer talked about that and how difficult that's getting to be. First of all, let me give you my top 10 running backs of all time at OU, and if you have a different 10, let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments down below. Also, if you want to, like this video or subscribe to this channel, either one. But my top 10 OU running backs of all time, and I'm going on basically one major criteria, and that is explosiveness with the football. What are you going to do with the football when I give it to you? A lot of it, and I'm going to limit this since 1970, so that takes Steve Owens out of the equation. He won his Heisman Trophy his senior year in 1969. So from 1970 on, here's my top 10 OU running backs. Number one, again, this is controversial to throw this out there, but when I watched him play live in 1982, it was the best running back I'd ever seen, and I've never seen one better. Marcus Dupree, number one. Number two, watched him live in 2004, and I haven't seen very many better in my entire life. And the guy's still going. Here we are 14, 15 years later, it seems, and he's still going. Adrian Peterson. Argue with me on that one. Billy Sims, number three, was the NFL Rookie of the Year in 1980. Had an unbelievable career until a knee injury wrecked things. Hate knee injuries for running backs. And then number four on my list, Mike Gaddis. Watching him run was like watching Secretariat in the Kentucky Derby. I mean, he was just that much better than everybody else. He was on another level. A slasher, speed guy, big, strong, powerful guy, explosive through the hole, explosive around the edge, could outrun you, could plow through you. He's on a level with Peterson and Marcus Dupree. Probably not as powerful as Marcus or fast, but a very special running back talent. My number five that I've seen, this is basically just in my lifetime, Joe Washington. Always enjoyed watching him. The little few times I got to watch him in the 70s, and it wasn't much because they were on probation. But you go back and watch some of his highlights, and then I remember watching him clearly in the NFL. The guy was magic. He was just magic. Probably as close to Barry Sanders as we can get, at least since Gale Sayers, in terms of just making people miss when they have no chance of, when a guy's in a crowd and getting ready to get creamed. Joe Washington comes out the other side clean. So, and then my second five is Demarco Murray. So versatile, probably the most versatile guy on this on this list. And look at his all-purpose yards. He's number one in OU history in all-purpose yards. At least he was. Number seven on this list, and argue this all you want, but I'm going to keep him on here, and I'm going to keep him at number seven. He's the number one rusher in school history at a place that is known for running backs. It's Semaj Napier, a guy who might have been more talented than Semaj, might have been maybe as versatile as somebody like Demarco Murray. Joe Mixon. I'm not a big fan of Joe Mixon's character, but in terms of explosive talent and what he can do with the football, I got him at number 8. And then two guys who often go underrated in OU history. Damon Parker at number 9 became the first player in school history to rush for 1,000 yards in 3 different seasons. And the only reason he didn't do it a fourth was because 1999, Bob Stoops' first season, Damon had decided he was going to go test the waters in the NFL. Didn't make it there, got a lot of injuries there, and things kind of went sideways for him, but unbelievably talented kid. And then number 10, how do you put Quentin Griffin at number 10? Well, I'll tell you how, because of all these other guys. These top 9 are unbelievably talented. Quentin was the perfect running back at the perfect time. in the Stoops era, early in the Stoops era, the first couple seasons. So just wanted to touch on that before I talked about this story that I wrote today, kind of a column on the life and legacy of Mike Gaddis. Had some great quotes in here. Interviewed Barry Switzer. Got some information, some quotes from Cale Gundy. Of course, Switzer coached Mike Gaddis his freshman year and then was fired. Gundy came along Gaddis' senior year and was the Oklahoma quarterback. And a guy I talked to, you all know him and love him as J.D. Runnels, OU fullback. Well, he's like Mike Gaddis, he's a Carl Albert Titan. Came 15 years behind Gaddis. So for JD, this was personal. You know, he knew Mike Gaddis. He knew the legacy. He'd known him for years and years. Although he didn't really, he wasn't steeped in OU legend by the time that he came along. He didn't know maybe the impact that Gaddis had. All he had heard, fully anyway, all he had heard was the stories of how great Mike Gaddis was. He told me that no matter how good you were at Carl Albert, people would come up to him and say, "Man, you're really good. You'll never be as good as Mike Gaddis, but you're really good." That's amazing to me. That's amazing. But I wanted to tell you what Barry Switzer said. He said, "I think he would have won the Heisman," and he's talking about in 1989. Said he would have won the Heisman had he not blew out his knee against Texas. Something that J.D. Runnels said, when you got around him or saw him play or just watched him work, you just felt greatness. And he described that as being the first time he met Mike Gundy. He was about 14 years old. Mike Gaddis, sorry. I've got a quote coming up from Cale Gundy here, so I got a little confused. He said the first time he met Mike Gaddis, Gaddis had finished his career but was out in the back exercising. He said he was rehabbing on his own. He said he was jumping rope. And he said the rope was going so fast it sounded like a weed eater. So thought that was pretty cool. But he went out and he watched him jump rope, watched him doing his rehab, and he just was like, that guy that looks like a Greek statue, I want to be like him. That's Mike Gaddis, and I want to be like him. He said kids from the neighborhood would like drive by Mike Gaddis' house. That's Mike Gaddis' house. That's where Gaddis lives. So just an unbelievable legacy that he left behind at Carl Albert and the Carl Albert community. Something else that Cale Gundy said, Mike Gaddis could have been one of the very, very best. If he stayed healthy, there's no telling what could have happened. In 2.5 seasons at OU, he rushed for 2,726 yards. He had one season where he had 1,344 yards and 17 touchdowns. That was his senior year. So get this, he rushed for like 500-something yards as a true freshman on Switzer's wishbone team. Okay, then he gets about 7 games into his sophomore season. He's leading the team in rushing. He's on his way to winning the Heisman. He's averaging 7.5 yards a carry. Blows his knee out. Like Dupree, gets hurt against Texas. This was a knee injury. Dupree's was a big concussion. And then the knee injury was so bad, he skipped his junior year entirely. So he missed the second half of his sophomore year and all of his junior year. Comes back his senior year and rushes for 1,344 yards on a bad wheel. What an unbelievable talent. I'll never back down from my statement that he's one of the best and one of the top 5 running backs in OU history. Want to get into something real quick, though, a little deeper. What the guys told me, what Switzer told me, what J.D. Runnels told me, was that he, as good a running back as he was, and you hear this about a lot of guys, as good a player as he was, as good a coach as he was, is an even better man. I don't think there's any doubt that was absolutely 100% true. It's not just, funeral speak about Mike Gaddis. Mike Gaddis was a special guy, in addition to being a special football player. Listen to these quotes. This is from Switzer. The thing I remember about Mike, he was an exceptional player, but he had a great personality. He was very mature for his age, good-looking, handsome, movie star looks, had that Jerry Curl smile and all that. I mean, that says a lot. And then Cale Gundy says Mike was just one of the nicest guys, always had a smile on his face. That's a fact. And then I want to tell you one more from J.D. Runnels. He said he just had this effect on the guys, that were around him. He says the guys that were making it out of there, meaning Carl Albert, Mike had a way of putting his hand on your shoulder, of making sure that he knew you, making sure that if you ever needed anything, that he was going to be there for you, that he was going to come to your games, that he was going to send you a text message. He was going to shake your hand and he was going to say, "Hey man, you're a pretty good ball player. Keep it up. Keep it going." It says a lot about Mike Gaddis. not just the football player, but Mike Gaddis, the man. I didn't get a chance to talk about that on the show tonight. I really regret that was not that we didn't have a chance to bring that up. But Mike Gaddis, the legacy he left at OU, the legacy he left at Carl Albert, and the family and the friends that he's left behind. Very powerful commentary today from everybody. Anybody who's missing Mike Gaddis today, as JD Reynolds said, we're thinking about you. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys.